Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and today we are doing a review of another FlightSimBuilder piece of hardware, and that is their GNS530. And just like with the G1000, this is an incredible piece of hardware that has truly changed my simulation experience. Stick around. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides as well as any future guides that come along down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below, and thank you to all of my current subscribers. Okay, you guys, before we get into the GNS530, I wanted to touch base on the G1000 and talk about some really awesome quality of development from the FlightSimBuilder. In my previous video where I reviewed the G1000, the FlightSimBuilder G1000, during shipping, because of how hot it gets here in Tucson, the trim bezeling around the display had warped. This bothered the developer so much that he actually sent me a new trim and bezel, which was very, very easy to change out. And I just wanted to share that with you guys because that speaks incredibly highly to the developer and what they stand for. So I wanted to point that out. Now, moving on to the GNS530, just like the G1000, I'll have a link to that in the description below, guys, if you guys want to check out that review. It assembles the exact same way, it's mounted the exact same way, and the quality is absolutely superb. This time, I've got absolutely nothing to complain about. As I said with the G1000, the only thing that I could complain about in the last video was that trim bezel that had warped during shipping because of how hot it got. And again, that's just the nature of living in a place where it gets to 115 degrees. But with the GNS530, it was flawless. Absolutely everything is beautiful. The weight of it is absolutely perfect. Now, just so you guys know, I do have these two mounting plates sitting on magnets, and I found that was a really awesome way to mount them. That way I can move them around. Now, for the remainder of the video, you guys are going to see me sort of manipulating it here in the Comanche from A2A Simulations. But this is more of a show and tell. I'm not going to be talking about the specific features. I'm going to be talking about my experience using the FlightSimBuilder GNS530. And much like with the G1000 from FlightSimBuilder, it's been an absolute joy. The first thing I want to talk about, you guys, is I have been very hesitant to use the GNS530 in any aircraft. I found the controls to be too cumbersome with a mouse. Constantly having to, trying to manipulate the rotors or the encoders, I guess, if you will. Just using the mouse was just always a pain, and it wasn't any fun to use it. And so I have stayed away from using the GNS530, and you guys are going to be able to tell that probably pretty easily just by watching me that I'm still, and I've been at this for a few days now at the time of this video, I'm still trying to figure out how it all works and what its full capabilities are. But for the first time, because I have this device, I want to. It changed the experience completely, being able to use my fingers to actuate everything, to use the buttons and control the GNS instead of using the mouse. It completely changed the game for me in regards to the 530 or 430. And that's the other really cool part, you guys, is you can actually take the 430 and use it with this as well. I mean, the controls are basically the same. They're very, very similar. So a lot of the same functionality exists, and so you can use this thing for the 530 or the 430, really. I played around a little bit with the 430. Now, as far as mapping the controls, I don't think you are limited to it, but I do recommend that you use this with spad.next. And the reason being is because FlightSimBuilder has already created profiles for both the G1000, the GNS430, and the GNS530 that you could very quickly download and import using SpadNext. So I do recommend that if you're big SpadNext users, this is definitely another reason to think about going with the FlightSimBuilder avionics suites. The tactile feel and the overall performance of the controls were spot on. I mean, it was just absolutely flawless. Nothing. There was no wiggling. There's no indication of loose connections or sloppy assembly or anything like that. It comes together very, very nicely. And it was just like I said, I can't say it enough times how much this changed the experience for me in regard to using the 530. I have avoided it and avoided it and avoided it in every aircraft I've ever flown, just because, again, I mean, the mouse for me is always my immersion killer. I can get by with just about anything else. I can get by with sometimes poor sounds, depending on how bad they are. And you know, even some visuals, things that happen, you know, don't necessarily always ruin the immersion for me. But the mouse, anytime I have to go for mouse and keyboard, it just kills it. That's why I have all of the stuff that I have in the cockpit. Even when I'm in VR, I try to stay away from mouse and keyboard. And this was such a very, I guess I was shocked. I wanted to review it. I wanted to be a part of it. There had been many of you in the G1000 video. I had received a couple of requests in the comments there and a couple of requests on Discord to see if I could review the 530. So I reached out to the developer and I asked him, I said, hey, I was like, got a lot of people who are interested in the 530. Would you mind sending me a copy? And they were totally cool with that. And don't mind the bad flying, you guys. I'm so busy paying attention to the 530 that I'm not paying attention to how I'm driving the airplane here. Hence the poor taxing. And the developer was like, yeah, sure. And that's when he also noticed the video on the G1000 and talked about the trim and sent me out the new bezel. He was actually going to replace the entire unit. I'm the one who said, hey, you don't need to do that. Like, I'm pretty good with, you know, my mechanical ability, and so I'll just swap it out. It only took about 5 minutes to do so, by the way. It was very easy to change out the bezel. And that's the other thing actually I'll give you guys. Because I had to change out the bezel, I actually had to take the display off. You know, I had to take the whole top off, the trim around the buttons, everything you name it. I had to take the whole thing apart really to get to it. And I can tell you right now that I've seen from the inside, it's assembled very, very well and very securely. That's the other thing that I was really happy to see. There was no wires just flopping around. Nothing was just sort of trashed inside of it. Everything had a place and everything was secured very, very nicely. And that was really nice to see. It was actually kind of a bonus that I got to see inside of it. Something that really struck out to me that was really cool and I'm looking forward to, as you guys know, I'm also a part of, I guess I work with Beyond ATC very closely. The developer there, you know, he gives me access to the beta options. I'm able to showcase a lot of things to you guys. And one of the things that I know is in the pipeline, once IFR is complete, they're going to be working on VFR. And the reason why I bring that up is because one of the things that I was playing around with, as you guys just saw, was switching frequencies, being able to very quickly navigate to the airport menus, highlight the frequency I wanted, and then put it in the standby. That was really cool. I didn't even know that was a thing in this one, honestly. And again, you know, call it ignorance, call it whatever you want. And that's just because I have avoided the 530, 430 series because I found them too cumbersome to use inside the simulator. You guys are going to see my hand and arms get in the way a couple times. Lighting changed pretty badly there. I did end up moving it to the left side. In this video, it's right in front of my flight stick, which I'm not quite sure what I was thinking because every time I needed to use it, I had to take my hand off the controls. So I did end up at the end of the video moving it over to the left side of my of the G1000, so that way it was in front of the throttle. So just a little tip there. If you're like me and you fly with HOTAS, put it in front of the throttle. Don't put it in front of the flight stick. But it completely changed my enjoyment of the simulation with the 530. And it has given me a drive to learn it. It has given me a much more comfortable feeling learning it because I don't have to try to fly the plane, try to work with, like here you're going to see me, I'm using my left hand crossing it, so that's why it looks goofy. But soon here, like I just switched over to departure, just sort of simulating what you would do if we were working with ATC. It's got me wanting to actually use it. And that's the same thing that happened with the G1000. Even with the G1000 I think is a little bit easier to navigate with and as far as navigating the different menus, but it still is, it's a pain when you have to do it through mouse and keyboard. And having it in front of you, I will promise you guys, will change the entire experience for you. It truly does. because you're able to actuate it faster. You're able to manipulate it faster, more comfortably. It, like I said, it's really stricken a desire in me now to learn the 430, 530 series of avionics, where in the last 2.5 years that we've been doing Microsoft Flight Sim, well, 3 years now, right? I've been ignoring them. I literally don't think, I think I've used them once or twice ever. And I was just like, no, this is too hard. They were too hard to see. And then they were just too hard to manipulate. And so I will promise you guys that it will absolutely change your experience. I highly recommend it. A link to the FlightSimBuilder website will be down in the description below if you guys are interested. Let me know if there's anything specifically that you guys would like to see from FlightSimBuilder or any of these two, either of these two units. And I'll be happy to do further reviews on it. We're going to do a lot more cockpit videos where you guys are going to see the cockpit while flying. So you'll be seeing more action with the 530 and the G1000 from FlightSimBuilder, and the overall configuration and how I use it. And maybe you guys will see further advantage there. The thing that I really appreciate about FlightSimBuilder is they are significantly cheaper than their competition. And the quality, like I said, to me, and I'm picky. I've mentioned to you guys before on the channel, but just a real quick tidbit, I do not come from a lot of money. Everything that I own, I've had to fight for my whole life. And so I'm really picky on every dollar needs to count. Every dollar I spend needs to be worth it to me. And if it's not, then, I throw a fit. And every product that I review, whether it's given to me free or not, I treat it as if I bought my own money. And that's why there are plenty of companies. I have had products sent to me that I have sent back. I've said, no, I'm sorry, this just doesn't meet the standards I'm willing to show on my channel. And then if you guys go back, whether it be aircraft, software, hardware, it doesn't matter. I have called plenty of products out as not being worth, their weight in the money. And this thing absolutely is. They are priced where they need to be, in my personal opinion, and the quality is superb. The immersion enhancement is off the charts, and that goes for any of the developers that are in this same product line. So anyways, you guys, again, a link to the FlightSimBuilder website will be down in the description below. Make sure you guys at least check them out, and I hope this is giving you something to think about. As always, guys, stay safe and healthy. I'll see you in the next one.